Okay, thank you guys for joining. Today we're going to be talking about the Weichert Buyer Consultation. This consultation is a really amazing way to help explain to anyone what the process is of purchasing a home in New York City. And again, most of this applies to most of New York State. I think the most important thing to give to a potential purchaser is information, right? That's kind of what we're here for, to not only kind of help them find a place, but to guide them through the whole process. And what I can tell you is that when we were acquired by Weichert about 11 years ago now, we didn't have this, right? We didn't have a buyer consultation. I would talk to potential buyers I was working with about what the process looks like. But what this gives you is a really amazing package of information to give out. It helps guide your discussion with them. And most importantly, it goes through steps, timelines, and how the process works in New York City. You as an agent really need to master that process and help people get through it as you're working with them. And if you can kind of not only be the person who opens the door for them, but be the person who really guides and explains them, that's how we kind of really do our job. And that's what differentiates us from another agent, and again, allows you to get people who are going to work with you. For anyone who's on any of our lead programs, again, what you'll see is if you do this with a potential purchaser, right? Someone who clicked through on some, third-party website and explain it to them, they're more likely to work with you and say, "Wow, you really explained this to me. You're helpful. I want to work with you." Than if you were just to go show someone a property, say, "Hey, I'm here to help," right? And leave it at that. So again, our best practice is, let's say you're given a referral from a friend or a family member, right? Before you even take them out, you sit down with them, you do this in person. You can do it over Zoom. You can do it at a coffee shop or something like that. If you're working with a third party lead, obviously they usually want to see a property first. You go with them, you meet at the property, you show it to them, you take them for a coffee afterwards, you sit down and do this, right? So let's start from the basics. Where is the presentation? How do we get there? So we're going to go into weicherttools.com, and we're going to click here, sorry, on Marketing Hub, right? And within the Marketing Hub, we're going to go to the My Marketing Studio, right? And again, it says customizable consultations and templates. So again, in here, you have tons of the branded material for Weichert, show sheets, social media things, cards, postcards, all of that. And again, the easiest way I found to get to it is if you type in here, buyer consultation. Now, if you're licensed in additional offices to our office, in New Jersey or Pennsylvania, you might see a couple different presentations in here, right? 2025 Buyer Constellation W Prop is the one you're going to want to use, right? Weichert Properties. Again, this one here, 2024 Buyer Constellation WR, that's not the one, right? We want to use the one that says W Prop Weichert Properties. Even if you're a member of LIBOR or not a member of REBNY, you can still use this consultation. And this one is more customized to our specific journey in New York City, and again, in the parts of New York State that we work. So again, you click on it, right? And you hit create design. Now, what's going to happen is the presentation itself is going to then be generated, and be put into an editable form. If you have your information in the marketing studio, your photo, your phone number, your headshots, your collateral material, that should all automatically load into the presentation, right? And so again, if you haven't played around with the studio, it's a great place. You can kind of make basically anything that you need to. Again, and here we go. So the system basically generated this entire presentation, right? So it's going to have pre-filled information, right? So again, for instance, they use Josh and Megan Hartman, right? So again, let's say if we're going to use Amanda, right, as the person we're going to do this for. And Amanda, I think I'm going to pick you to be the buyer as we go down this. So again, we can change that and this will save, right? We can then download it to print it from the office computer. We can save it. Again, we can go through it. Each page has different information on it. And again, we're going to be going through these step by step, as we do the presentation, and also to explain kind of what each of these pages are, right? So again, the nice thing is basically besides the name, almost everything in here is pre-populated, right? So again, you can change pages to work with things and to work with what you're going through, right? So, again, what we're going to do is we're going to go through kind of each page of this, not me doing the presentation, but just going through what's on here. And again, the really nice thing about the presentation is it is customizable 100% for you, right? So, if there are pages in here that you don't feel like you want to use, that's okay, right? We can delete the page. We can leave it in here. When we print it out, just take out that page, right? And as we do the buyer consultation, you'll see there's a lot of information in here that is really helpful to go over in advance of really fully working with someone, right? So the first page, again, just goes over kind of what you're doing, right? We're doing a buyer consultation. We're talking about, what it's like. Again, the second page goes over the buyer needs assessment, right? So again, what this presentation is going to refer to is a number of pages that are outside, that are kind of supplemental pages to this actual presentation, right? So again, what the buyer needs assessment approaches is what are they looking for in the property, right? You may have done this previously with them, right? So you don't need to do it now. Again, what kind of service are they looking for? Certain things that they need to do, right? Are you currently renting an apartment, right? Most or many of the people who purchase in New York are coming from a rental, right? So again, the buyer needs assessment asks them, when do you need to move, right? When is your lease up? Are there certain dates that you need to have in mind, right? Again, the whole point of this presentation is for them to talk and for you to elicit responses from them that can then craft the journey that you're taking with them, right? Again, you'll find in this presentation we'll talk about things like mortgage pre-approval, right? So if you have someone on the phone, right, you get a lead, you talk to them, are you pre-approved? Yep, I got that, no problem, right? When you actually meet with them, most people actually aren't, right? They think, oh, I got an email saying that I can get a loan from X bank. That's a pre-approval. Well, obviously that's not. Those are things that you know. And again, I think it's important to make sure that we're having a dialogue with people, again, the same way that we would during the listing presentation, to kind of go through what they need and how we can help them actually attain the needs or the goals that they have. So again, a journey to home purchase, right? This goes through the general process of how the home buying works in New York City, right? So again, the first step is to interview and hire an agent, right? To then get pre-approved, to then tour properties, right? Again, doing it in that order means that when you find something that you like, you'll be able to purchase it, right? Versus going to see stuff, then getting pre-approved, right? Where you could actually lose out on it. Submitting an offer, offer acceptance and due diligence, the appraisal, and the board package and the board process, and then going to closing, right? So again, this is kind of the general, and again, you kind of go loop around on this thing, but this is the general process of purchasing a home in New York, right? For anyone who works in other states than New York, it's a little bit different, right? The way it works there is you submit an offer and the offer is accepted, and basically the due diligence is a part of that process. So it's a little bit different, right? Again, in New York, when we submit an offer, as we kind of reviewed last week, the offer is made in good faith, but it's not really a binding offer, right? When you submit an offer in New Jersey, you sign a contract, and if they accept it, you're actually in contract, right? It's already there. So the next page, which again is going to be different for everyone and kind of the way it works, is to look at the local market dynamics, right? So again, depending on which borough you're working in, within the borough, which neighborhood, and within the neighborhood, which property type, right? Condos, co-ops, townhouses, or multifamilies, and which again, general price point, right? So again, in Greenwich Village, for instance, you can buy a one bedroom for $500,000, let's say, for $1 million, for 2 million, or for $10 million, right? You can buy a one bedroom in that whole price range. And each kind of subset of prices will be a different market in and of itself, right? So when we're talking to someone about the local market that they're looking in, we have to be hyper specific, right? Again, if we were in New Jersey, let's say Short Hills, we might talk about the market in Short Hills, right? And maybe there's one, maybe two markets, right? In New York City, there are hundreds of kind of submarkets because of how large the city is and how large of a subset there are for each different neighborhood, right? So again, we talk about the local market dynamics, right? And again, why do you think we talk about this at the beginning, right? Because we want people to be prepared for the market that they're going to be looking in. And again, it's never to scare someone away from buying. What it is to best prepare them for what's going on, right? So again, what we can do is we can look at what's been happening in the market through Urban Digs, through OLR, again, the kind of comps workshop that I did the other day, and really get a sense of what is going on in the price point and the neighborhood that they're looking in so they know, yes, there's negotiability, or you know what, things are going extremely quickly. If you like something, you have to be ready to act fast. So again, this slide kind of talks about Jim and James Weichert, about the company that we all partner with. And again, we have basically anything they can possibly need all under our umbrella of the Weichert family of companies, right? We can help them with our team, right? And again, mortgage advisors, insurance advisors, home protection services. Again, all these things will help them to actually get everything together to be able to not only see homes with us, but to be able to purchase them with Doug, to be able to insure them with Jamie, to be able to use Caroline for home protection services. Again, having movers, kind of the whole team to help through the entire process. So again, expert services tailored to your needs. Again, this kind of helps with the misconception that a real estate agent's job is to just open a door for you, right? Again, anyone can open a door. What we're here to do is partner with them and to support them through the knowledge that we have and the knowledge that our office has through every single step of the process, right? Again, anyone who's working with any of those third-party lead sources, right? Many times you'll get someone who says, "Oh no, I just want to talk to the listing agent," right? Now, again, when we talk about the person on the other side of a deal, if we're working with a buyer, I always say the seller's representative, right? And why do I say that? Because that person's job is to help the seller realize the highest possible price for the property. My job as a buyer's agent is to help you to get the best deal or to get the property that you want and to do it in a way that you're comfortable, happy, and most supported through the process, right? Again, what I want to do is help you save time and money, period. So again, how do we have kind of differentiation and different tools from other people, right? We use My Weichert, right, which has targeted marketing to actually help us uncover listings that might not be on the market. We have strategies to help win multiple offer situations, and we've had lots of experience actually winning those. We have market data through Urban Digs and through OLR, as well as our price trend analysis to help you put in the best possible offer. And we have a number of different tools to help them select the property that's right for them. Again, the next 4 pages basically go through these, right? What is My Weichert? What is the multiple offer strategy? What is the price trend analysis and market data? And what are our buyer selection tools, right? So again, this page talks about buyer representation and how you, and if not you, we, and we can help you craft this, have helped people get the properties that they want, right? So again, there are many times where there are problems that come up, right? You might put in an offer on something, they get a higher bidder. You might not get an accepted offer and then you get the property, right? There are many case studies in how real estate works where we do things differently than other agents and other companies. And because of doing it like that, we've helped people actually win properties, right? Again, I have a customer that basically that we were runner up in a multiple offer situation, right? And I every 3 days reached out to the agent on the other side to say, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? Right? At one point, they were like, actually, it looks like it's not working out, right? And I said, great, can we resubmit our offer? He said, yes. The owner then accepted it and we got the deal done. right? Because I told them the attorney has worked in the building before, so they know about the due diligence. I told them, again, I've done a board package in the building before. It's very easy. And again, the buyer that I had knew everything that was going on, and so they were ready, willing, and able to go extremely quickly, right? So again, those are ways that you can do it. Again, if you have never sold a property before, you can use ones from me, from Michael, from other people in the office, or you can take this page out, right? Again, that's one of the benefits of the presentation, right? So again, you can put in different factors of your stats and average agent stats, right? And again, all of these are customizable, right? You can basically change everything in all these pages. You can put in testimonials. You can put in your bio and recognition and associations that you're a part of. And here is what we call the Candyland map, right? This is probably, in my opinion, the most important page of this entire conversation and this entire consultation, because what it does is it helps you explain the process of start to finish purchasing a home in New York City, right? Again, for anyone who's at the workshop on Friday, we went over what the process is of working with a buyer in New York, and this kind of sums it up into one page, right? The first is the buyer consultation. The second is the mortgage pre-approval. The third is the introduction of financial services. The fourth is viewing homes. The fifth is to make an offer. The sixth is to reach an agreement. The seventh is the attorney due diligence. The eighth is an inspection if needed, right? And again, most of the time in co-ops, we don't need one. Ninth is scheduling the contract signing. 10 is the appraisal if they're doing financing. 11 is insurance and title services through their attorney. 12th is the home protection plan, walkthrough, closing confirmation, final walkthrough, and at the actual closing, right? So again, talks about our partnership agreement, right? And again, what does this do? It helps us to introduce our buyer agency agreement, right? And then it says, okay, now that we have a plan, let's go and find you a home, right? So again, it's a pretty nice presentation. It's pretty quick, right? You can usually do it in 10 to 15 minutes, I would say. And again, what you really want to do is not read each page by page verbatim, but use these as a way to craft the conversation based on how the person reacts to then help them, right? What we want to do is show to them that we have value because of the information and the knowledge that we have, and at the same time, what we're going to do is we're going to be going over, what the actual step-by-step process is, right? Again, most people in New York City are that are first-time home buyers that are buying here for the first time, right? Really don't know what the process is. And again, by just explaining them that process, you're giving them an item of value, which is then again making them more likely to want to work with you. Okay, so there are some supplemental pages in here as well, right? Again, this is basically the same Candyland map. Again, questions they can ask themselves, tips for the home search, right? Different team pages and stuff like that, right? And again, if you find that you want to make this into a 10-page consultation, great, right? But the main requirement that we have is that for any company lead that you're given, right? Those are the company leads from the third party sources. You need to do the buyer consultation with them within a week of kind of substantive contact, right? Of taking them out to see a place or of actually getting them to agree to meet with you, right? And the reason that we do that is that we want to help you improve your conversion rate, right? Your rate of converting leads, your rate of closing on customers will skyrocket if you actually approach it this way, right? Because again, if you can do this presentation, we're clear that you can actually explain the process of buying and help someone through that process. And at the same time, they're feeling they're getting some item of value from you, and they're really getting someone who knows what they're talking about, someone who can partner with them and help them through the entire process. Okay, so this is basically the consultation, right? I'm going to stop this recording. I'm going to take some questions, and then we'll actually go through a version of this. So give me 1 second.